You know, I thought that I was the only one or the main person that you would find on the internet that defended or made attempts to protect the legacy of Bruce Lee's martial arts accomplishments. In other words, all of those that have said that he was not a martial arts master, that he was just some average guy, and that he was an actor, and that he didn't complete Wing Chun, and that he was not a real fighter. I mean, how far down this rabbit hole do we really have to go? We don't, really. Because history speaks for itself. It actually does. It cannot be denied the legendary Bruce Lee's accomplishments to the martial arts. It just simply cannot. Too many people over the course of 40, 50 years have established in their own minds just how great this man was. I'm talking about prominent men have made these statements. Everyone can't be mistaken. I'm going to start with me and say, I say that Bruce Lee in the 20th, 21st century was the greatest martial artist of our time. I know that's hard to make a definitive and an absolute declaration like that for some, but we call other people great. We say Michael Jordan was the greatest basketball player. We say Jimi Hendrix was a great guitarist. We say Muhammad Ali was the greatest boxer. We say Michael Phelps was the greatest swimmer. Mark Spitz before him, actually. We say a lot of people were great. But I think we pick and we choose. But I say Bruce Lee was the greatest martial artist of our time. But if you followed me for a while, you will have also have heard me say that there were other great martial artists before Bruce Lee. And even during his time, when he was living, there were other great ones. He was simply the one that rose to popularity. That's the difference. So that's sort of a disclaimer, so people don't think that I'm just saying Bruce Lee can never be matched by anyone, but I'm saying during our time. None of these other individuals ever graced the stage of martial arts excellence through so many different vehicles: film, books, magazines, commercials, martial arts schools, in perpetuity, and remained relevant today, other than Bruce Lee. I challenge anyone, as I'm making this statement, to tell me who is right beside him? Nobody. Still relevant today from 50 years ago or longer. Who's still relevant today? Who you hear in the martial arts arena talked about? Like Bruce Lee, he's always the one people have measured themselves by. Anyway, in this title of this video, it's kind of humorous, and I'm not picking on Chuck Norris, but one of my older videos, one of my followers or subscribers made a statement about Chuck Norris, who I touted didn't give Bruce Lee the proper credit. And I saw another video prior to that video response where someone was saying Chuck Norris, this is an actual video by the way, Chuck Norris said that he taught Bruce Lee high kicks. And that's a lie. That's a flat out lie. Chuck Norris never did teach Bruce Lee high kicks. Bruce Lee was performing high kicks before he ever met Chuck Norris in a professional setting. He was doing it already. 1965, Bruce Lee, in a interview, performed White Crane. He executed high kicks. Bruce Lee did high kicks in Green Hornet as Kato. Bruce Lee in other videos did high kicks. So when Chuck Norris was interviewed by a couple people before, he said that he was telling Bruce that high kicks were good and that they would benefit him in some situations, that and Bruce Lee only liked to kick low. That's not true. That's not true at all. What is true is Bruce Lee, from a practical standpoint, street fighting, yes, he was going to kick low. That only makes sense. That's the thing that I emphasize in my system, is kicking from the waist down. It's okay to kick to the head in a tournament, something that's controlled. But there's too many variables in the street situation for you to raise your foot that high. It's only common sense, really. But anyway, Chuck Norris never taught Bruce Lee high kicks. Bruce Lee already had that down because he had studied other disciplines too. But anyway, that's the one video where the individual brought that to light. And I said, man, I talked about that before, where he made that statement, Norris that is, that he taught Bruce Lee high kicks. And someone else did a whole video on it. So this person that responded to another video that I did about Chuck Norris not respecting Bruce Lee, did that a few years ago. This guy responded at the end of his comment and said Chuck Norris couldn't carry Bruce Lee's jock strap. I know what he's saying and what he meant. And I saw another video before I even saw that comment on my video, where someone did a video saying that the two greatest martial artists of our time was Bruce Lee and Chuck Norris in the fight scene in the Coliseum in Way of the Dragon, which is also called Return of the Dragon. Now, that was a great fight scene. But can we just be honest? To any trained fighter, to any trained martial artist, to any person that's not even a martial artist, to observe that on screen Are you going to really sincerely tell me or anyone else that Chuck Norris's skill set versus Bruce Lee's on the screen? And this was Bruce Lee's legitimate system of fighting, Jeet Kune Do, that he was performing on screen. And that was his speed, and they had to slow Bruce Lee's speed down, honestly, because of the type of film that they had at the time. They had to slow it down because he was that fast. And there had been numerous people have made that statement that they had to slow Bruce Lee's techniques down because of how fast he was. And if you watched Way of the Dragon or Return of the Dragon, and you watched the Coliseum fight with Chuck Norris, there is no comparison. And that was on screen. And that was not some made up sketch. That was Bruce Lee's actual speed and Chuck Norris's actual speed and technique, which was very inferior to Bruce Lee's. And if you saw Bruce Lee and Bob Wall outside on the grounds and the front kick roundhouse combination, that was not sped up. That was Bruce Lee's speed. That was super fast. No comparison. Period. And you're going to tell me or anyone else with any kind of logic that most of these guys during those years, those tournament years of Chuck Norris's in the 70s, were comparable to Bruce Lee? Speed-wise, technique-wise, skill-wise? No, not at all. So, to say that I'm a world champion in point karate and I was a fighter, which is what Norris said. He was a fighter. Bruce Lee was not a fighter. He said I was a professional fighter. For real? That's why Bruce Lee didn't go to tournaments. He would have been disqualified because he was a fighter. Go figure. So I understand why my subscriber said that Chuck Norris couldn't even carry Bruce Lee's jockstrap. He was nowhere on the level of Bruce Lee, skill-wise, and never ever could have been. So he said a lot of things, Norris that is, to try to embellish his career with his experience from knowing Bruce Lee, as a lot of people did after Bruce Lee died. That's it. And that's all. So, leave your comments in the comment section below. Be blessed.